saw a quote. It wasn't a quote. It was like a Instagram post, right, on Instagram, and it was like, when you see a woman change her hair color to red or black, she's back on her bullshit. And I thought that that was like the most truest thing in the world, because, and like this time I went like the whole way with it. So for the first time in a minute, I actually have time to be up and actually active, as opposed to just being up and at work. If I'm not at work, I'm asleep. I'm telling you, stopping hormones and then starting hormones just put is the biggest change on myself physically. Just like the exhaustion I experience, it's like an infant that just came out of the womb, you know. But this infant has to get up and go to work. So, I don't really want to talk about hormones much, because it's only been a month since I've been back on them, and I don't necessarily think this is like a 4 month, 3 month thingamajigger. First and foremost, let me just say this disclaimer. Moving forward, everyone experiences different things, so I'm not sure if it's just me personally, but listening to someone else's experience on what they go through on hormones is cool sometimes, but constantly expecting, you know, something different. Everyone's kind of gonna go through the same thing, unless you are a complete abnormal individual. We all go through the same thing around the same time. Your boobs start growing around the same amount of time. Your weight start growing around the same amount of time. All that bullshit starts growing around the same amount of time. So it's kind of pointless to. I'm not gonna say pointless, but we all just experience. I could sit here and ramble about, some titties growing, some weight gaining in areas, but, I thought, what good does that do? You know? So I like shedding light and bringing awareness to a lot of things. And definitely one of them I want to bring and shed light and awareness to is what it is like to be a black trans woman in America. And this is just plenty of people have done it, and I always wanted to do one for myself, and I feel like I've lived enough. I've faced enough, and I know I'll live more, and I'll face more, and I'll overcome more, just like all of my sisters will, and brothers, trans women, trans men, but I just want to kind of just pinpoint it, because I just can, and it's my YouTube channel. So, anywho, so number one, first thing, a lot of people have the stereotype of what it is to be trans. A lot of people look at us, and I'm not just talking about black trans, but just trans in general. Being trans is like the bottom of the bottom, if we're being honest. People can be cool with you if you're gay. People can be cool with you, damn sure can be cool with you if you're lesbian. They can be cool with you for so many things, but being trans is one of those things that's like God feared, and I always wondered why, and I never understood it, still don't understand it, but as I got older, I started to just embrace it and accept it, and kind of just started to see it as something where it was a beautiful thing. So many people follow beliefs and ideologies that just, to each his own, but for me personally, I like to personally believe that trans women are trans men, people who are just open, with who they are as a person, as an individual, are, some of the most beautiful creations on earth, because you are an embodiment of just free. And I feel like that's what everyone is aspiring to get to in their own existence of life. So, with that being said, I wanted to just say, first and second, first, consider bottom of the totem pole. Being an African American trans woman definitely comes with a lot, and it definitely starts from childhood. You're brought up and taught that through Christianity, and this is just my own personal opinion, you're taught to fear, you're taught to hate, you're taught to judge, you're taught to dislike. even though they tell you that the Bible tells you not to do these things. You still see, your grandparents, you still see your parents, you still see, your uncles, your aunts, you see everyone doing it. So you follow suit because you start to believe that that's what's normal. You know, you just you condemn being anything near or close to the LGBTQ community. So much so where in African American communities, a lot of people don't know that, many African American families will protect, child molesters, they'll protect rapists, they'll protect a killer, you know, before they'll protect their gay son or gay daughter. Get it? And that's something that a lot of African American families, a lot of African American children who are gay, who are just a part of the LGBTQ community face. We're kicked out of our homes at young ages just because we want to love who we want to love. And that's not to say any other race doesn't do that, but it's predominant in African American communities, and I'm pretty damn sure in Hispanic communities as well. It happens a lot of places, but I know those two predominantly. But in African American communities, it's just one of those things where you just do not do, and it's kind of put the fear of you. As for me, I said this before, I didn't really just live my truth until a year ago. Before then, it was dibble dabble here, there, but I didn't live my truth fully until about a year ago. Was it February? January of last year, I think, was when I really just was like, I'm gonna do it for me, no one else. Boom, smack, did it, didn't look back, But before that, my fears, and I've said this before, it came based off of my older sister, who is trans as well, who I saw, I didn't see it, but, I heard it. I was in the house, I heard the conversation, I heard the screams and tears and all of those things, hearing my older sister wanting to commit suicide because of the judgments, the attacks, and just the ridicule she was facing at a young age, just for being herself. So for me, I was just like, ooh, I don't want to deal with that, and I said this before, I went so many years hiding. I went so many years just like most people. I wasn't necessarily down low because you couldn't ask me, hey, are you gay? And I would be like, no. I mean, pretty people fucking assumed it, I walked with a twist always, I had a kind of big butt, kind of always. It was something that was natural for me. So people just assumed it, and I really just didn't care. But for the most part, I hated this part of me until after high school. Because after high school is when I felt a little bit more free to be myself. I didn't have much. A lot of African American kids don't have much coming up. So especially like if you are a part of the LGBTQ community, if you aren't one who is essentially, the showy type, because there's different types. I wasn't the showy type. I was the quiet, let me hang out with the gothic kids type to hide from the African American kids, because I know they gonna notice who the hell I really am, and ain't nobody got time for that. That was me. So, and that was just my younger days. But once I hit 17, because I graduated early, I graduated when I was 17 years old. Once I hit 17, I turned 18 like a few months later. Boom, just let me try it out. And definitely the most terrifying thing coming up was the fear of being murdered for not only being who I was, but because I was black, I felt, you have this fear when you're coming up as an African. For me, I had this fear coming up that because of who I was, because of the way I wanted to live my life, I wouldn't be treated fairly, I wouldn't be seen fairly, I would just be seen or used and or abused because of who I was, or just the color of my skin. So it was something I was like, which is also was a big hindrance for me as well as just opportunities. A lot of African Americans in general don't have opportunities, but being, a part of the community, a lot of people think it's easier. Yeah, it's easier if you're Caucasian, and this is not a knock. It's just God's honest truth. It's easier if you're Caucasian. It's easier if you, speak different languages. It's easier in that sense, or it's easier if you sell yourself. But then that's the dangerous way, and that was the way that I myself personally tried to avoid. That's the way that most trans women um, find themselves in positions where they are harmed, murdered, and that was something I did. Speaking of, you know, um, the prostitution rate as a trans woman is really, really high because there aren't many opportunities for trans women. Yes, there is so many avenues trans women can take to be successful. Fashion, um, just entertainment, because God knows we are some of the most entertaining creatures that God has fucking designed. We're funny as hell, we're witty as hell, and we're beautiful as, who wouldn't, I'm just saying, I'm just being completely honest, But most trans women take, avenues that aren't as, what's the best way I can put this? Most trans women take shortcuts because it's a little bit easier. Easier to get a bag, easier to get access to funds to help pay for a room for a night, easier access to get a meal, just easier access to get to a position that they're not living on a street or on someone else's couch, and that lifestyle definitely seems like it can be very glamorous and beautiful and just extravagant, but it's my question to every time I see a trans woman who looks like she's made it, is what did she have to go through to get there? I think that's one of the biggest questions and that's not just for trans women, trans men, that's just with anyone. What did this person have to do to get to the place where they're so successful? I don't know the tears, I don't know the sweat, I don't know the blood, I don't know the pain that this person has endured, and I damn sure am not trying to really endure what they endured if they endured something that's 10 times worse than what I've experienced in my life. Because what I've experienced is enough for me because it happened for me, So, takeaways that I've had to take, and I say this, take it, run with it, no matter who you are, where you are, wherever you're going in life. One of the biggest takeaways that I've taken from me being trans, me being black and trans, me just being an individual as a person, is that no matter what, you are going to encounter people who are going to see you as not good enough. You are going to encounter people who are going to see you as, if I'm going to be completely honest and blunt, you're going to encounter people who are going to be disgusted with you. You're going to encounter people who don't want to even breathe the same air as you. You're going to encounter people who think the foulest things about you. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do about it. This can be from a boss. This can be from a parent. This can be from just a complete and utter stranger on the street who doesn't even know your first name, And for me, I had to really instill that in my head, that no matter what someone thinks, no matter how someone acts or treats me, in a sense where they aren't physically harming me, I don't give a damn what you say or what you do. It's hard as hell just living and breathing being trans, but it's hard as hell being black and trans because the decks are already stacked up against you. So for me, I literally take into my head every single day that no matter what anyone outside of me gives towards me, I just have to kindly put my best foot forward. It's not giving you the same energy that you give me. It's literally always remembering that no matter what, I can't allow someone to take me off of the throne that I'm great, I'm good, I'm solidified in who I am and where I'm going. And it sounds really, really, really shitty. Like, I'm being honest. It sounds really shitty if someone who you're working with speaks negatively of you or towards you, and you just be like, and it especially it's in a sense where it's like you just are who you are. You have coworkers who's like, that trans or that, faggot, that gay person or whatever, and you just have to sit there. You have neighbors, you have a parent, you have just someone in your vicinity who just makes you feel uncomfortable for being you. You have to really just sit there and just be like, thank God today we have laws and things in place. You never know when things can change. Knock on some wood. have to put that. But yeah, just in general, laws don't protect you every single place you go, especially if you are trans, because we've all seen, there's been so many trans women who have been murdered, especially if you are African American and trans. It's damn sure harder than what it should be. But if I can give any and every trans woman who is African American, any advice, or just any trans woman, trans man, any advice, it's, you hear the saying, always put your best foot forward no matter what life throws at you, and that is very true. And I'm saying that now because this has been like probably the fucking shittiest week in the world, and I don't know what it is, but I definitely know what it is. I'm definitely focusing on things that I shouldn't be focused on, that doesn't give me good energy. So this is why I'm doing this. The best advice I can give someone, even though no matter what it sounds shitty, you always have to put your best foot forward in efforts to make sure that you are happy and protected. Don't put yourself in situations where you can harm someone else or someone else can harm you. And that's not just in a physical manner, that's in a mental manner. Don't put yourself in arguments with people who just want to argue with you. It's not worth it. It's not worth going home at night, constantly replaying the arguments you had with someone at work, someone you had on the freeway, someone you had just in a grocery store, with your parent over the cell phone, whatever the case may be. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Damn sure not worth it to physically harm someone unless someone attempts, and I use that word very lightly, attempts to physically harm you. Make sure you always hit them before they hit you. Just make sure that they are attempting to hit you before you hit them. We don't need no accidents from the pop-up, okay? But yeah, so this is my own personal opinion. Take it, leave it, resonate,